Omid Scobie finally admits to penning those two racist names, sort of. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and this is a shocker. I didn't expect him to actually take any accountability. Oh, wait, he doesn't. Now, he does acknowledge to writing the names, but I just got to read this part for you because it's unbelievable. It's part of a longer op-ed piece that he wrote that I just recorded a full read-through of. It's a doozy, and if you want to hear me read it in a posh accent, head on over to Popcorn Palace. It's a good video. Oh my goodness, I did my first reaction reading it, and it's a lot of fun, and I just coined my new name for him. Are you ready for this, guys? Liebrows. Can we make this a thing on Twitter? Go to social media, hashtag Liebrows, because I am so sick of this man, his lies, and his eyebrows. Enough already, you charlatan. You were such a phony, you lick spittle, lying. Anyway, if you want to hear me rant about it more, go on over to Popcorn Palace, and please head on over to Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever, and let's use hashtag Liebrows, because that pretty much sums up this guy in a nutshell. But what did he say regarding admitting to the manuscript? Let's focus on that section of the op-ed here. Again, I'll give you the link to the full video at the end of this. But yes, he appears to admit an early manuscript for his royal book did identify the two royals at the center of the race storm. Thousands of copies, as we know, were pulled from the Dutch translation, etc. But now he appears to admit that an uncleared version of the manuscript was provided to the Dutch publisher without his knowledge. Unbeknownst to me at the time, early, an unclear text was provided to the Dutch publisher in order for them to start work on the translation, with the understanding that their translation would be updated to reflect the final version of the book I officially submitted. So much word salad there where he's owning it, but not really. He's like, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know that there was an uncleared text provided. You had to have provided it, bro. Like, who else provided it? You wrote it. You give it to them. You gave them a version that was uncleared. Why would you give them an uncleared version? Why would you do that? That's on you. You're the author. The publisher doesn't write it. The translator doesn't write it. You wrote it. You wrote a version. Whether it's cleared or not, that's on you, dude. Don't give an uncleared version then to any publishers. An uncleared text was provided to start the translation with the understanding that their translation would be updated. So clearly, that's so specific because it's like there's clearly a page or two that they knew they had to replace because the rest of the book was probably cleared. From my guess, when I read this, he wrote a book naming the royals, and then he debated, can this legally get cleared? It wasn't legally cleared. Or he thought, well, actually, we'll figure out a way to release that by accident. Those are the two theories I think are fair to assume. There was either a legitimate publisher error that pushed the wrong one out, or he always was intending to do some sort of mix-up that would eventually let this first version out. Why else would you write the names if you weren't legally out? You know what I mean? Why did you write a version? I'd like to press you a little bit more on that, but now I hope someone will in their future interviews. However, you admitted there was an uncleared text that had the names, and it was supposed to be changed, and it wasn't. I was in the middle of TV interviews in New York when a single name surfaced after it was published in the Dutch edition. My stomach flipped. Who cares? 403 pages. Like, he's still selling this book. These 400 pages that I'd carefully written, edited, and signed off to the printers made it very clear that any names would not be revealed due to legal reasons. And again, I love this. He clearly wanted to release these names. So why is he so shocked now that they're out? Own it. Talk about it. But no, he's still like, oh, I'm not going to talk about it. I can't talk about it. Blah, 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 blah. You clearly wanted to, dude. You just legally couldn't. So if anything, just say, look, I can't legally talk about it. I don't know how this got out. I never intended for a book to get out that way. Done. Easy statements you could have been making since day one. Oh my God. What? Like, when the reaction came, you had such a prepared, the version I prepared must blah, 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 blah. You were so coached and so sneaky and weaselly in what you said that it was so clear you were covering something up, or you were using semantics to walk around to ensure you didn't say the wrong thing. It felt so legally coached. So you clearly knew what was going on. And so that's why this is just nonsense. But now he can't deny it anymore. I was still confused about what happened and unable to keep an eye on the unfolding story due to my back-to-back press appearances. He is so busy, guys. I was this is literally like such a big deal. Like, the king of England could sue you for defamation. But I was so busy with my back-to-back interviews, I just sort of ignored it. Who would do that? Can you imagine if this really was what he says it was and this was an accident? I'd be terrified, mortified that my lawyers didn't clear it. And how did it get out? I'd be throwing everybody on their bus. Like, what on earth, publisher, translator, who did this? I am livid that this went out because legally I don't want to be responsible. And I didn't release this for full clarity in the record. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I am not responsible. I never had a version of this given to, they're so easy to passionately defend this. And no, it's all very like, oh, what an annoying accident. Still confused. He was unable to keep his eye due to back-to-back appearances. I was at the very least revealed to see that the Netherlands publisher swiftly announced the copies containing the translation error, which they described as a translation error. I love this. They must have just said that, and then he ran with it, but that's what was quoted. But who knows if they even really said it, right? There's probably a translation error in what he thought they said was a translation error. There was a publishing error. There wasn't a translation error. The publisher gave them the wrong copy. That's a publishing error. That's an Omid Scobie. Why would you give the publishers an early version? He says, second name started circulating. Questions were coming in thick and fast. I had many too, but details at that point were still being pieced together, and I don't have the full story. He added, to be clear, the only publisher I worked directly with was the one covering the US and UK. I spent almost 2 months with independent British barristers and in-house legal counsel to ensure that every detail in the finished book was legally watertight. What I can be for sure of is that I edited carefully, took independent legal advice, and finished the book that I submitted was not the version published in the Netherlands. So he's throwing the publisher still under the bus. He's not apologizing. He's not taking really any accountability. He's still trying to skirt the issue while acknowledging what he has to acknowledge, which is, yeah, you wrote an early version of the book had the names. That's clearly going to make a lot more questions. Why did an early version of the book have the names? Did you want the names out? Now the names are out. What are your thoughts? There's so much more to unpack on this, but he's out there just doing, and I do believe this is a legal issue. This is totally a legal issue. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, the translator herself was upset. I don't know why he would say that. I've been translating for many years. This is the first time anything like this has happened. This is not something I want to be involved in. This has been upsetting. So he still hasn't apologized to this poor translator at Dutch. Omid, you write this whole big thing about, it's all about race, blah, 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 blah. No, it's about you and your publisher screwing up and lying and your credibility being shot. And I go into much more detail over on Popcorn Palace, reacting to this full, ridiculous piece that he wrote. It's an absolute ridiculous nothing burger. You just keep saying, well, you're racist. When you're backed into a corner and you have no evidence to provide, you just go, well, you're racist. And it has nothing to do with the race. It has nothing to do with it. In fact, you even admitted in one of your own interviews that, yeah, of course people ask about people and what their baby's going to look like. That doesn't mean it's racist. And you guys have still yet to provide what was actually said. And Megan didn't even hear it herself. Harry heard it. This is hearsay that you're publishing, that you weren't there for, but yet you think we're all unwilling to confront race issues. You douchebag. Out of my life, Liebrows. I want nothing to do with you. Are you sick of this man and his Liebrows? I want to hear it on social media. Let's get it trending. Head on over to my Twitter at Andy Signore. Follow me while you're there. Let's get me over almost at 100,000 followers. Follow me on Twitter. Hashtag a Liebrows tweet. Let's get it out there. And while you're at things, go subscribe to Popcorn Palace. In fact, you can click over. I'll put the link to the tweet. It'll be the pinned comment down below. Go check the pinned comment, respond to it. Go to it if you have Twitter. I'm sorry, X, whatever you want to call it. Go retweet, tweet it, etc. And then scroll down. You'll get the link to the YouTube video. Follow it over there. I'll also put it on the end screen if that's easier for you. Make sure to go over there. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Stay tuned for more here on Popcorn Planet and Popcorn Palace. Liebrows. Hashtag Liebrows.